Good morning. Hope the sound is working well. Thanks, Val. Hey, Robbie. Hey, AYJ. Hey, BL. Good morning, JB. Sounds good. Sounds great. Hey, Spiros, how you doing? Hi, Minal. As usual, a couple of minutes before we get started. Hey, and while I have you guys here for the first few minutes, what do you think about how I've left the stream running? Does that help? You like it? Should we do it even before the session? So I could just start off, come in, let the stream run, jump onto the daily market analysis, and then let the stream be running. I look at the charts. Let me know what you think. Good morning, Ayakame. How are you doing? Yesterday, as I was leaving the stream running, I found it was a bit laggy. Something I was noticing. Hey, Christina, how are you doing? 2 minutes before we get started. And again, a quick reminder is that if you are watching, do help me out. Click that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Hey, Nick, how are you doing? Hey, Kwabi. Yeah, Kwabi. How are you doing? Anyone traded well last night? Good trades? Do let me know. I was totally knocked out yesterday, so didn't get to watch the charts at all last night. Last night, my time. You're blessed. We're all blessed. Good to be back, Ayakami. Good to be back. One more minute and we shall get started with the daily market analysis. Not a lot. I was just scrolling through, not a lot to talk about today, but we'll see what we come up with, right? Good feedback there, Bell. I think to possibly do so, Bell just said it's great to see the stream continuing, but it would be really good to see when you're thinking of taking a trade so we can see your thoughts in action. What I found is that I was running this yesterday's stream for another 1.5 hours, I think. Nothing else, nothing came around. No trades came around. We were setting up, pound dropped a little bit, didn't close below, didn't get into the trade, it bounced back up. I think to really see the impact of that live stream, probably would have to run it longer, possibly into the evening. So I'll get that planned and sorted out for you. How are you doing, Aslava? Can't translate that, but hope it says hi. Alrighty, so let's get started. Good to have you all here with me again on the daily market analysis. If you are new to the session, do drop a message, say hi. Let me know where you're joining us from. I'd love to find out. The link is there again. I'll send it up one more time. If you haven't already, do join our super friendly and constructive trading community on Discord. There, everyone's sharing trade ideas, talking about when to get into a trade, sharing news analysis. It's all happening there, right? So we can take our discussions beyond this 1 hour session on a daily market analysis. Trading can be lonely, so just trade with a community. Have a whole group of people from all around the world there supporting you with your trading journey. All right. So with that said, what we do during this market analysis is that we look at the fundamentals. What's the news that we just had? What's the news that's coming up? We look at technicals in terms of where price is, where price could head towards. And with that combined, we look for some possible trade setups. A quick reminder again is that this is done on a daily basis. So any trade analysis or any trade setups that we're looking at is possibly for until the next time we speak, which is the next day at 3 p.m. GMT plus 8. So it's all done on H1 time frame. There will request to look at it on the H4 time frame. We'll get to that when it comes around. Most likely it will also be shared in the Discord channel as well. Okay, so if you do have any questions at any point in time, please feel free to put it into the chat. Any particular pairs you'd like me to look at, put it into the chat. I'll be happy to share with you my points of view. What we do during this session, we look at the majors and gold. So if you want anything else, put it in, let me know. With that said, good morning, Buba. How are you doing? Wasn't a vacation, it was a long work trip. So super tired, but good to be back. Hey, Carson, how are you doing? Good morning. So quick disclaimer, any information contained on this webinar should not be construed as advice and is presented as educational material. Contents of this webinar is not intended to be a recommendation to trade a financial product. So please do your own due diligence. Make sure that you're checking that it fits with your own trading plan, right? I've seen Val, I've seen Robbie talk about that a lot in the Discord channel. We've got our plan. I share with you my own trading plan. You've got your own trading plan. If it aligns, get into a trade. Most often what I've seen is that if it all fits, you do tend to make a good profit on your trade, right? So make sure it fits with your own trading plan as well. Your objectives, financial situation, and needs has not been considered, and you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances. All right. So with that, let's keep going. Good morning, Angel Case. How are you doing? Take that away. I was just reading that on the Aussie. All right, so from yesterday, we've seen a whole bunch of news there, right? We were talking about the PMI. We were doing our analysis, our daily market analysis, while the PMI was being released. And you would notice that we had all bad news, but it wasn't terrible. It was bad news, but it wasn't terrible, right? So French manufacturing PMI, French services PMI from yesterday, lower than expected, well into that contractionary phase. German was a little bit surprising at 38.8, also in that contractionary phase. Services PMI 52, expansionary but slowing down. It was a 54.1, expected a 53.2, slowed down to a 52. The pound, or the UK manufacturing PMI, from a 46.5, it got revised from 46.2, went down to a 45. So well into that contractionary phase as well. Doesn't look very good for the Eurozone or for the UK at the moment, just based on the PMI, right? Services PMI here, 53.7 down to 51.5. That's the UK services PMI. So we saw all red numbers, but as it was being released, we did not see big movements on the euro dollar or on the pound dollar. In fact, a lot of the volatility was driven by the US, right? Or by the dollar index, where we had at 9:45 p.m. GMT plus 8 last night. Manufacturing PMI for the US was 46.3, released at 49. So a little bit of an upward tick on the manufacturing PMI, still in that contractionary phase, but doing a little bit better. And then the services PMI 54.4 got revised slightly from 54.1 to 52.4. So again, lower than expected, but in that expansionary phase. So with that news, what we actually saw on the dollar at 9:45 p.m. last night was at that point there, right? So at 9, zoom in a little bit more. Down, all right. So at 9, right at that candle there, we saw the dollar spike down a little bit, bounce back up, right? Because of that mixed news, that red and green number. And then after that, continue on its trend slightly to the upside, came as high as 104.42 before trading back down early this morning. For today, it has been very quiet along between 104.40 early this morning and a low of 101.20 from today, right? I do think that we might see it test this resistant turn support level again, possibly. With that said, that was yesterday's news. What do we have up for today? Not a lot, right? Like I was telling you before we started, not a lot to talk about today. We did have the BOJ with your core CPI year on year turning down slightly from a 3.1 to a 3%. Did not do too much in terms of impacting on the price movements on the yen. Later, then nothing much else for today. Later on tonight, 10 p.m. US consumer confidence 109.7 expected, 112.1. A little bit surprising. Did not expect that upward projection, right? Did not expect the upward projection, but that might, if it does come out at 112, then we might see some strength coming back into play for the dollar index or for the US dollar. Okay, with that, what else do we have tomorrow? Pay attention, 9:30 a.m. GMT plus 8. We do have the Aussie CPI year on year and Aussie CPI quarter on quarter to be released. Year on year, looking to go from 5.6 to a 5.5%. Quarter on quarter, 1.4 to a 1%. So it looks like we might see a slowdown in terms of inflation growth for the Aussies, or we might see a slowdown in terms of inflation growth for the Aussies that might have some impact on the Aussie dollar, but I do think that any impact it's going to have is likely to be brief. Right? Why I think it's likely to be brief? Because we do have a big news to be released on Thursday morning. Might be Wednesday night for you guys. The Fed Reserve, the US Fed Reserve with the interest rate decision, 25 basis point rate hike expected. Okay, so I think that we might see some movements, but it's going to move and then pause because everyone is primed, holding back, waiting. You see that markets haven't been moving too fluently right now is because, or liquidly right now is because we're all sitting there primed and waiting for the Fed Reserve to indicate. I know it's going to be a 25 basis point rate hike, but what is going to be said during the press conference. So that's going to be quite interesting there. So with that, let's look at the charts. Okay, so dollar index. Right, yesterday we were saying, so it's not the 24th anymore, it is the 25th. Yesterday we were saying I updated this, right? It was going to fluctuate between 100.7 and 101.2, thinking it's going to bounce within this range. It did break up right as we finished our analysis session or daily market analysis. It broke up of that resistance level, went up to about 101 almost 101.40. So updated, could trade up to 101.65. Did not get there. In fact, it's turning back down. What I'll add here as well is that trend line. Okay, so you can see this trend line there. So I'm looking at this, I'm thinking that at this point we might see the dollar come down, test this support level, right? Test this support level, but not anticipating anything for now. I think that take that one still holds. I think 38 is broken, so we can take that away. Okay, take 38 away. Have that. All right, so as an updated line, I would say is that point there. Move this up to about that point. Okay, that makes a lot of sense now. Okay, so what I'm looking at, we can even take this line away because that line was the 38.2 fib retracement level, which we have removed because it was broken. But now looking at this shorter term Fibonacci retracement level, I'm looking at this trend line and also the coinciding at 101 as a round number with that 23.6 fib retracement level here. Okay, so what I'm thinking here is that we could see it trade down to 101, testing this 23.6 level and also testing this trend line. All right, so visually I'm looking for this to come down, test, and possibly bounce back up. Why I think it's going to bounce back up is really because of that consumer confidence number looking like it might be a little bit positive, looking like it might push the dollar to the upside at 112. So thinking that it could come down for now, right? Might sit there, look for it to come down, test 101 before bouncing back up, possibly to that 101.65 level. Good morning, Matic. How are you doing? I see your request on the US 30 euros and the euro dollar. I definitely will do the euro dollar. Coming. So dollar index, I'm looking for it to test 101 round number support. Could bounce to 101.65. Right, so I'm looking for that. If it does break that trend line, does break that 101 level, then we could see further downside. But I think that for now, most likely we might see it bounce. Same like what it did the last time around yesterday. Hey Kelvin, how you doing? So that's relatively straightforward on the dollar index. Then looking at the Kiwi dollar. All right. Kiwi dollar, yesterday we were looking for it to break to the upside, did not trigger, so I'll take that away. Now looking at this, remember we're anticipating some weakness before an overall push to the upside. What you could be looking for here on the Kiwi dollar for this 23.6 level to hold. I'll take away, might not see 61.8, that away just to clean up charts. At this point, what we could be looking for, hour to close, look to sell down. Even at this point, might be, you're going to be super safe, 0.62. Stop loss tight at about 25 pips. Take profit. You could do 50 to the downside. Just watching out at 0.6158. Okay, so I think that we could be looking at that. Below 0.62, 25 pip stop loss, 50 pip take profit to the downside there on the Kiwi dollar. Buba is asking for pound yen. We can do that too. So I'll be looking to sell the Kiwi down 0.62. Stop loss 25. Take profit 50. Go. With that, since looks right, does need to close straight down, close. I think this could be a trade pretty soon. Looking at the Aussie, so Aussie dollar. Yesterday we were looking at this on the possible straddle. Everything was a possible straddle yesterday. It did push up, coming back down now again. Let me just take these away. Did anyone jump onto the Aussie from yesterday? Do let me know. Are we going to be seeing a DXY upside sustained for the upcoming month based on how short it was being for this long time? Yeah, I'll get to that shortly. So this away. All right. What I'm looking at here is on the Aussie. Remember, we were looking for that downward move, right? Overall downtrend. I don't think a trend line would fit here. Nope. Take that away. I would be looking, I wouldn't be too keen on the Aussie right now. I'll tell you why. Okay, because we do have a news tomorrow. So what I would rather be looking for is maybe the Aussie could trade back down today. Right? It is at 6762, 0.6762 right now. It could trade down to 6724, which is not a lot of pips. Right? Which is not a lot of pips. But what I'll be looking for is with the news tomorrow, expecting that we could see inflation slow down, might offset some hawkishness from the Feds. I would be looking to see whether it could break down. Check this line. Okay. So what I would be looking for here on the Aussie is whether it could break 6725 and trade to the downside. Check something here. Very close to that 61.8 level, 6710. Straight down to this point. Okay, so remember I was saying that might be a very brief move, on the Aussie because of the Fed Reserve on Thursday morning. So we could be looking whether the Aussie we could sell down 6712, 6710. Stop loss tight 20 pips. Take profit 55 pips to the downside. So this is looking more particularly for tomorrow's news. Right, for now, I think that I'll be happy to see it trade down. Be looking for this to trade down. I wouldn't do anything yet. Then if it does break tomorrow below 6710, we'll look to sell down 20 pip stop loss, 55 pip take profit downside. Oh, it's pretty much what we had from yesterday. So 22, don't think it'd be a big move. We'll be looking at something like that. Okay, cool. So for Ayakami's question, are we going to be seeing a DXY sustained upside for the upcoming month based on how short it has been for this long time. Okay, so are we going to see a sustained upside push on the dollar? It all depends on what happens at this 50% level. Right, it all depends on what happens at this 50% level at about this 101.65 level, right? I think that we could see it trade up. Okay, so it depends on two things. What happens at this price level, and also, and it will coincide quite nicely with the Fed Reserve rates decision on Thursday morning. If they come out and they do sound very hawkish, could see the dollar break above this 101.50 or 101.60 level and push up. Maybe, let me just look. Last time they held on the 15th of June and 4th of May. Right, so I'm just going to digress a little bit. Let's have a look. 15th of June, they held interest rates, a big 15th of June when they held rates, we saw this push slightly to the upside. And then on the 4th of May, about there, where they had a bit of a rate hike, but we didn't see too much. We saw it drop, bounce back up, then trade down slightly. So overall, you see that it was trending down, came to the news event, continued down slightly, found a support before bouncing back up. Then again onto the 15th of June, right, was trending down, held rates, was a little bit hawkish though, saying that they might still consider rate hikes, and then push back up. So for the news, I will possibly give you a better update tomorrow. But I think that we could see it test and possibly break. Would need a lot more from the Fed Reserve to cause it to rise sustainably to the upside, because there are a couple more levels to pay attention to. For example, that point there at 102.50 before we could see it climb towards 103. All right, so yeah, I think that you get a better idea tomorrow as the price develops in the lead up to the Fed Reserve interest rate decision. Hope I answered your question there, Ayakami. Not a great answer, but there is a lot more pending before we get a good idea of where it could head towards. Just bouncing back up because the dollar is dropping, holding there. I would see it drop a little bit, but I think this will still hold. US yen. So JMB was asking this last night whether I got into the yen. I didn't, wasn't watching my charts. And you can see that it came just very close to our entry level at 140.99 or 141. We were looking to sell down 141.50 to 175. So it just came very close. If I was watching this, so just to answer Jan B's question, if I were watching this, I would not have got into the trade, right? I wouldn't have got into the trade because what would have happened or what would have transpired is that I would see this dropping. As it was dropping down, I would be quite keen to get into a trade, but then it would close just at that 141 level. Right, it'll close right there, and I'll be sitting there going, I need it to close below. Right, I'll be looking for it to close below. The next hour, you would see that, zoom in some more, you'll see that it tried to come down a little bit, but we saw more push to the upside. Right, that would be a bit of an indication. You can see it was outside of Bollinger as well. Right, so close of the hour, what I'll be thinking, outside of Bollinger Band, right at that 141 level, I wouldn't be looking to sell. I'll be saying I'll wait for another hour. I want to see what happens. The next hour sits on the Bollinger, tries to trade back in, so I wouldn't have got into that. And then the next moment you see spikes down way outside Bollinger. We know that we're most likely going to bounce back up, comes back in. Then I would be, if I was sitting there at 9 p.m. GMT plus 8, then I'll be saying, hey, it's totally set at that 141 level, failed to break lower and bounce back up. I wouldn't even be looking at that trade anymore. Okay, so can we hope that answers a bit of a walkthrough on what would have been my thought process for the US yen last night. Now, again, looking at the US yen, we are thinking that the dollar could weaken a little bit before pushing back up. But you would see also that the US yen right now seems to have a little bit less correlation with the dollar index, right? A little bit less correlation. It's not moving in that mirror image to the dollar. So I think that still in that range, right? So yesterday we were talking about it being in that range. If it breaks below 141, we could look to sell down. Still in that range. I would actually be, it is failed to break 61.8. I'm tempted to say that I'll be looking to sell down again below 141. Right? And also, given that we have a bit of that trend line forming, and it looks like it's breaking. If I took this one, not to that point, that'd be terrible. Okay, that doesn't work. Same thing, I think I will hold this view. I'll be thinking break below 141, pushing down. So below, so because it failed to break and it tried to spike, I'll be looking for it to break and close below 141. So about 140.85. Stop loss will be tight at about 30 pips. Take profit. I don't see why we should, I don't see any reason why it should be dropping 160 pips. Right? Let me just check something. Coincides there. Came up, feel a bit of a gap. I would say maybe 140.75. Stop loss 30 pips. Take profit. I wouldn't be so ambitious. Could even be looking at that. I don't why I'm not looking at the major levels at this point is there, looking at the news, there's no big reason why we should see this the US yen drop that much. So we're looking at this come down. Okay. Thanks, Vel. Thanks, Jambi. So we could just be looking for this to break 23.6 straight down to that 38.2 level. But what I want you guys to notice as well, so I'm trying to really tune you guys to trade with the trend, is that this is a counter trend move, right? And you will notice here that on the yen pair, on the US yen in particular, big spike up, retrace, big spike up again, retrace, big spike up again, then now retrace. I think that we could see this retrace and then push back up again. All right, so that's why I'm a little bit hesitant. I would say for those of you who are Interested in the US yen short term, maybe to sell down, right? But I think that maybe a more worthwhile endeavor would be to look for buying opportunities on the US yen, right? Because we are anticipating some strength to come back in on the dollar index. I would actually, okay, I'll tell you what I'd be more comfortable with. You guys can probably sense that I was very uncomfortable with, getting that short-term trade to the downside. I would say that maybe about that point. Around there, between this area, right? So between this area, I'll be looking for a bounce, right? I'll be looking for Casper. Yes, definitely, definitely. I'll be looking for this to happen instead. The US yen. I do think it's going to come down, but I think that trying to pick that move to the downside could be tricky. So what I would rather you guys try and do is 140.80, buy it back up, 100 pips to the upside. Stop loss could be very tight. If we did that 140.90, stop loss just below this 23.6 level, about 25 pips and 90 pips take profit. I would really prefer this. Let it fall. Let's see how far it goes down. If it bounces back up, 140.90, look to buy it up, 90 pips to the upside, 25 pips stop loss. Okay. I think you guys have figured out when I'm super uncomfortable with a idea, I hesitate a lot. But if something fits, then it just comes out very smoothly. So I'll be looking to buy at 140.80 or .90. Stop loss 25, take profit about 90 pips to the upside. So we're looking for a retrace. Retrace and bounce. Looking for it to retrace, bounce, followed for the buy to the upside. Okay. Then next up, the pound dollar. Pound dollar, I was watching this. We had this on the stream after the session. It was shot down. I was going, great, good idea. Might be looking to sell. Again, very similar to the US yen. Did not break, could not sell it down, bounced back up. So if you guys were watching during the live stream, I had I think I was saying something like setting up nicely. And then after that, I was like looking for it to break below 1.2815, I think. Did not break, like deleted that idea, and then it saw it bounce back up. Okay, so I'll take that away for now. So that trade did not trigger, but we are still looking at the pound dollar trading to the downside. We are still looking at the pound dollar possibly pushing lower in the short term. Right now, bouncing back up because we are seeing some dollar weakness here. So what I would be looking for, take that away for now. Just looking at overall move with that. So right, look, it just bounced off that 61.8 level, failed to break. Now bouncing back up. Overall, looking at this, 23.6 is there. All right. So what I would be looking for in this case on the pound dollar following with the trend, big downward push, right? I don't see any reason why we should see it turn back up strongly unless the dollar index drops massively. But right now, it looks like you could be looking to sell either at that 1.2876 level, 1.2890 level, look at that, or that 50% level. Okay, so take that away. 38.2 is not key, 50% is there. 1.8 is a little bit far away. No big news for the pound dollar. I don't see why it should push up. Good 100 pips for turning back down. Very similar to the US yen. I think that if it tests, trades up, tests, and rejects, could be looking for a sell to the downside. Might be very skinny. 1.2865. Stop loss very tight, about 20 pips. Take profit at a maximum of 60 pips to the downside. Hi Haida, how are you doing? I'm doing well, Matic. That 0.5, 20 pips. 1.28. Stop loss. Take profit. You have a longer term trade there. That would probably come in maybe tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow. Right. So what you should also notice here is that we're looking at possibly quite heavy on that dollar strength coming back into play. Kiwi sell, Aussie sell for tomorrow, US yen buy to the upside with the dollar strength, pound dollar looking to sell down. Now looking at the euro dollar, it did bounce, came all the way up to 1.1108 before turning back. It didn't bounce as high as we thought, but tested before turning back down again. Right? So that was the euro dollar. And take it away because it's broken. At this point, again, anticipating the dollar strength come back in. I think it's going to sit there in consolidation. I think it's going to consolidate at this point between 1.1060 and 1.11. Going to sit in this range. I would only be looking to sell down on the, if it breaks below 1.1060 or 1.1050. Stop loss. This ought to be a little bit wider, I think 40 pips, because we have it quite close, and then take profit will be down to about 66, almost 70 pips to the downside, just towards that previous swing low. All right, could you sit there and have a tighter stop? I think a tighter stop loss could work, but no less than 30 pips. No less than 30 pips. So even if you had a 35, it would be fine. 1050, 35, 7, 6, 1.1050. Stop loss 35. Take profit 66. All right, makes sense. I hope it makes sense to all of you. If you can help me out, click that little rocket ship button on TradingView. And if you're on YouTube, help me click that like and subscribe button as well, please. Okay, so with that, we've done dollar index, Kiwi, Aussie, yen, pound, dollar, euro, dollar. There was a request from Buba about the pound yen. So let's have a look at that. Pound yen, long time since we did this. A lot of volatility, test rejection, 181.80 level. Pound dollar, so we're anticipating the pound dollar to trade up before turning back down. US yen could look for it to push back up again. So I think in this case, I would be looking to see if, clear out these lines, if the pound yen, you have this previous level here as a near-term resistance. And I wouldn't do anything. I'll tell you why. It's just too near to that resistance of 182 dot, almost 182.50. Right? And I think that it could push up, so it could get to this resistance, but I wouldn't be. The stop loss levels, we do have a support here. Then another level about there. So this interim level is going to be a bit of a range. It's going to be in that levels there. Right? So I do think that you could see the pound yen trade up, but I'll be looking for it to come back down. So I'll be looking for a test of that 182.50 resistance level. Look for that rejection, look for it to sell down. Okay, and also that's also because on pound dollar, I'm looking for it to trade up, test and pull down, likely to drag the pound yen down as well. Hope I answer your question there, Buba, on the pound yen. Then onto the US Swiss franc, we had the straddle, nothing triggered, right? We had the straddle, the US Swiss franc straddle, buy on this level, sell on this level. This is also important to remember. If you guys remember, if you don't remember, watch yesterday's video. I was actually looking at this level and I felt like I had to drag the entry level a little bit higher. Didn't want it too near within this range because I didn't want a scenario like this where you would have seen a fake break before turning back in again. Right, so again, highlighting the importance of having while you're trading at straddle, but having that at a reasonable entry point as well. Okay, with the way I'm looking at the dollar pulling down before possibly pushing back up, I think that the upside still holds. I wouldn't be too keen on the downside for the US Swiss franc. Right, so that's what I'll be looking for. Tested, came back in, might sit there, pull back a little bit. I'm still looking for it to push back up. So 87, push up, maybe 80 pips. I think that you could be even looking to get out about that point. That's a bit too near. About that point there. So 30 pip stop loss. Could be looking at a 50 pip take profit or close out at 50. Overall looking for the 80 pips to the upside. Hey Jacobs, I will check silver as well. Okay, I think what's likely to happen here on the Swiss franc, going to come back down or pushing back up again. Just very similar to what we anticipate here on the dollar index. So with that, US Swiss franc, not a straddle anymore. could be looking to buy that move upside. Okay. Romika, I will get to the US CAD right now. So US CAD did very well. I know Robbie did this trade. He was sharing that he did get into the US CAD here. We were looking as it tested that resistance level at 1.3230. Turned down, we were looking to get in 1.3, below 1.32, we were looking to sell down. Traded down to as far as 45 pips. Robbie said he got 30 pips, I think. Right, 30 pips there. So that's done. Take that away. Now, looking at the US CAD at this point, you would see something like this. Tested, bounce, tested, bounce, tested, looking like a bounce, right? Again, so I'm treading on a little bit of a dangerous ground right now because everything that we're talking about so far is on that dollar strength, right? It's on that dollar strength. So could be all right, or everything could be right, or everything could be wrong. If something changes, say for example, if the dollar index does not bounce up this level and actually breaks to the downside, if I'm there trading, I will update you guys on the Discord channel as well. So if you're not there already, do make sure you join. US CAD looking for this to bounce off that trend line, maintaining within this range by 1.31780. 1.3180. I want to be extra safe here. 50 pip, take profit, stop loss, 30 pips just below that trend line. I think that would be, you'll see it bounce, you'll see it cut above today's high. Could see that push to the upside. Okay, 1.3180, 50 pip take, 30 pip stop. Stop, 30, take profit. Go. I have questions for US 30, silver, and oil. Done. To gold now first. Gold did not, right? So we're looking for this to push up because we were anticipating some weakness, at first some weakness on the dollar. So it did not push up. Take that away. In fact, it did not even break above 1968. Right, it came to 1967.98 before turning back down. So we're talking about this break above 1968, could trade up to 1986.50. Did not happen, traded back down. So at this point, it's broken that trend line. And take that away, because it's broken. That resistance level is still holding. We do have a next level at about this point here. I think it's going to sit there. It's going to sit in a bit of a consolidation. So it's going to be like this. I'm going to do that. Right? So what I'll be looking for is below 1960. I'll be looking for this hour, or this next 2 hours to close below this point. Then we could see gold come back down again towards that 1948 level. Right? But most likely going to consolidate along this range. I think a signal for confirmation is if it goes below 1958. break below 1958, could trade down to 1948. Thanks, Steve. Alrighty. So that's done. Now looking at silver. Okay, push to the downside a little bit thinner compared to gold, just a little bit. Very similar though, I would say that as much as we are seeing this push to the downside, previous swing low was very near, also in that region there. So I would say that you do have something to consider along this range. Wouldn't do anything on silver unless it breaks below 24.10. Right now at 24.51, needs to break from this level, then we could see it come to about 23.70.7. Okay, so I would have it about there. Bit of a dotted line. This previous level is reasonable. I'll be looking for that. So do nothing yet, silver. Think that we could see it come back down. Main thing is I want to see what happens at this point. If it does break, then we could see it trade down towards that 23.9 or .70. All right, Jacobs, hope I answered your question there on silver. Then US 30 for Spiros, tested resistance, turned back down at that, still well within that range, but watch out, it is on that big upward trend. Does that work? Kind of. Not the best. Of that one there. It is right there in a shorter term move. I think what could happen here is that it might trade down a little bit more. I don't think it'll come all the way down to 31, 130, 34, 135. I think it would. In fact, I don't even think it's going to break this point. I think it's going to sit, the US 30, I think it's going to sit within this range. Maybe trade down a little bit, bounce around this range. I think I'll give you an update, a better update of this in the lead up to the FOMC, right? Because a stronger dollar, then we could see this trade to the downside. But looks like it's going to consolidate along this range. Any downward push, I think it'll be more an opportunity to buy it back up following the trend rather than to try and catch that downward move, right? So I would be looking for something like this instead. For it to break down, I'll be looking to buy it back up, or if it drops deeper, then buy it back up. But I think for now, going to consolidate along this range. Hope I answered your question there, Spiros. And AYJ on oil. So on Brent, we haven't looked at oil for such a long time. On Brent, tested. Any big news? Oil. Rise on tighter supply. So it looks like it rose, retrace. Overall, we do have that point there at 81.63. To come back down and then bounce back up, right? Because of the news that we've had China economics support increasing demand, while we have tighter supply should cause prices to move to the upside. How high can it get? The last time it got to this point, that's why it's retracing. So it hit very close to that 83 level resistance and it retraced. Looking for it to retrace back down. Say the next point is about there. So what I'll be looking for is a trace. Maybe not even a retrace. At best, a retrace and then a push back up. And if it breaks, we'll continue higher. But most likely going to sit within this range and trade up, which is forming up right now. Could consolidate here before trading back up. Ultimately, what I would be looking for is only if it breaks above 82.84. To be extra safe is 83 to trade it up towards that 84 resistance level. Okay. Hope I answered your question there as well. AYJ on oil. Any further questions? Do let me know. Well, dollar did not retrace as much. Looks like it's still pushing back up. So we have Kiwi forming up. Aussie, not yet. US yen might sit there, might not. We might be missing this move. We might push back up, but we might not drop as much. Pound dollar could be, I think, still a little bit early. Euro dollar, hey, look at euro dollar. Guys, if you are looking, so we were talking about this, whether we're getting into a trade together or not. It is new in the hour. It is new in the hour on the euro across the board. It's 4:02 p.m. GMT plus 8. So I am looking at this. If you're more risk taking, you could be looking to get into this trade. So we were looking at 1.1050. It is 1.1056. So a 6 pips difference. You could want to take a little bit more risk, jump in now, or you could be sitting there waiting for it to get to that point to get in. That would be something that I'll be watching. Right, I wouldn't get in right now. I want to see how this develops over maybe the next 5 to 10 minutes. Then I'll be looking maybe on the M15, looking for that to close below. I'll be more confident. This will be a short-term trade. I'll be looking for that downward push. High on my list. 3Z pushing back up. Fine. Then the US CAD as well pushing back up. All right, so I will be watching. I will leave the stream running again. And in this case, for now, I will be watching on the euro dollar. If you felt like you had a good session, do help me out. Click that like and subscribe button. I would appreciate that a lot. And if you haven't already, do join the Discord channel. Thank you, Val. You're most welcome. Steve said, I bought wheat like a week ago after reading Russia's halting black grain deal. It's coming back down. Coming back now, please can you take a look? I don't have wheat. I don't even know how to. Which one am I looking at? That one? Steve, I'm not sure which one to look at. That's not something I trade. You know, futures? They're all the same. I'm quite happy to say I don't know everything. I don't trade everything, so is it this one? Looks like that one. Yes, okay. Right now, can we look at it? Wheat climbs to 5-month high as Russia intensifies attacks on ports. 9 hours ago, why we saw that big push. Coming back down now. Let's hit that level. I think that you should be, again, not something I'm super familiar with, so please, disclaimer applies. I think, I think that it could come back down a little bit, but retracing from that peak. But overall, based on the news, it should be pushing back up. I think not a lot. I don't think there's going to be a huge upside on this unless something absolutely even more crazy happens. I think that is possibly going to be within this range. Keep me updated, Steve. Let me know if this develops nicely. I'll be quite keen to find out more. All right. So with that said, I am still watching the euro dollar developing. I will turn off the mic. I will turn off the camera, but I will update here on the stream my thoughts and processes as the price moves. So if you are going to be watching, stay tuned. If you're not, check out the Discord channel, and if not that as well, then join us again tomorrow 3 p.m. GMT plus 8 on the next daily market analysis. Take care now.